And welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Leesburg, on our last Sunday in January. The theme for this year is Living Everyday Wonder. And that's also our theme for this month. And as you can see on the screen, Prove It. That's going to be the title of our talk today. We're so glad that you joined us. We invite you to get comfortable and relax as we officially begin our service. Please join us as we create our sacred space. We set our intentions of deepening into our awareness and practice of our 5 pillars of spiritual living by lighting this candle in our virtual world. Our first pillar is sacred study, represented by the divine quality of truth. We use this pillar to recognize the importance of an open mind and the power of our minds. The second pillar is affirmative prayer, represented by the divine quality power. This pillar honors the power of prayer in our daily lives. Our third pillar is meditation and the divine quality of peace. This pillar reminds us of the importance of meditation and the peace we feel when we quiet our minds. The fourth pillar is circulation and the divine quality of life. We know that the great law of circulation works in our lives. As we give, so shall we receive. And the fifth pillar is sacred service and the divine quality of love. This pillar affirms our call to be a service to our world as we see through the eyes of love. Let us close our eyes as we bless this sacred space and our time together. As we weave each of these pillars of spiritual living into our service today, may they deepen our own spiritual practices of study, prayer, meditation, circulation, and service, expanding our minds and our hearts to the 5 divine qualities of truth, power, peace, life, and love. We also bless everyone who made our service possible today and everyone in attendance. May the energy of love that is generated here bless everyone abundantly, and so it is.
Something within embraces the ocean. Something within melts into the shore. Something within stands still like a mountain. And we become one with them. Every day, every day, every day wonder. Every day, every day, every day one. Something within cries out to the heavens. Something within belongs to the sea. Something within looks out in the desert. Because we are one with them. Every day, every day, every day wonder. Every day, every day, every day one. Something within, in awe of an infant. Something within, in love with the stars. Something within is blooming in the moonlight, because it is who we are. Every day, every day, every day wonder. Every day, every day, every day one. Every day, every day, every day wonder. Every day, every day, every day one. Every day, every day, every day wonder. every day, every day, every day one. Something with
What a beautiful way to kick things off. We want to take this time to remind you, please feel free to add to the chat or in the comments section any prayer requests or celebrations that you would like us to include later in the service when we provide our community spiritual mind treatment, which is a form of affirmative prayer. And now sit back and relax as we move into our time of meditation.
Hello, good morning, beloved CSL community. It is so good to be with you once again after being away for a couple of weeks. And I just invite you to just take a moment, as Tamara said, and let's just go within and anchor into the knowing of who we really are. So we allow these bells, the singing bowl, to allow us to take our attention from outside and bring it in. It might help for you to close your eyes. And taking one nice deep cleansing breath, relaxing our bodily muscles, anything that we've been worried about up until this moment, allowing it to just fall away. And we breathe. There's only one presence, only one life. That life is living as me. As the breath I take, this is the breath of the divine. Moving through every organ of my being is the energy of the universe, of life itself. Just allow that to sink all the way in. I am the life of the divine. In this stillness, I know that there is something amazing happening, something bigger than my circumstances, something more amazing than I could ever imagine. For this life force animates not only my being, but everything around me. Every being, animate or inanimate, resonates with the energy of the divine. We cannot be separate from it if we tried. divine intelligence hung those planets in their solar system, not only our own, but in each and every galaxy that there is, and there are millions, billions. That very force, life force itself, gravity that holds my body together, the gravity that holds the universe together, that unifying whole that I am a part of, has not left me, is part of me, is my life now. And it is the life of everyone on the planet, every being on the planet, imbued with the divine. There's only good. It is an attribute of the divine. There's only love. That is an attribute of the divine. Even though in my life, I may see things that look like opposites, they are two sides of the same coin. That is the one. It ebbs, it flows. I'm happy, I'm sad. I feel rich, I feel poor in 2 seconds away from each other. Neither of those are the truth, because the truth is, I am one with the divine. And so knowing that in each and every one of us, there's that little spark of the presence of the universal one, then we know that we can expand that and we can cause a so-called chain reaction of good, because we are all connected to one another. And the little piece of me that is God reaches out to that little piece of you that is also God. And that is where we find our community. And that is where we grow in our oneness and our awareness of our oneness. And we reach out to those who appear to be on the other side. Well, they're not, they're part of the one. And our oneness, our divine presence, reaches out to itself in everything that is. And that is how we make this world a better place for all. We know we are one with everyone. And so I just leave us here in this space of awareness of our oneness, knowing that we can return to it at any time. Whenever we're feeling separate or less than, we can always come back to this, knowing that we are all one. And so I invite you to join us back here in the room, wiggling your fingers and toes to bring you back into this space. And we have a song from our dear Leah.
Good morning, CSL Leesburg. I'm grateful as always to be with you, to be sharing music with you. This simple chant has been on my heart, has been on repeat. It's been my theme song for the last few weeks. So I would love it if you would sing it with me. It's very simple. And then I'll layer some other voices over it. But the foundational part is I will walk the way, love will guide the way. I will walk the way, love will guide the way. I will walk the way, love will guide the way. I will walk the way, love will guide the way. I will walk the way, love will guide the way. I will walk the way, love will guide the way. I will walk the way, love guide the way. I will walk the way, love guide the way. I will walk the way, love guides the way. I will walk the way, love guides the way. I'm walking, I'm guided by love. Oh, oh, my way. I'm walking, I'm guided by love. Oh, oh, my way. I walk the way, love guide the way. I walk the way, love guide the way. I will walk the way, love guide the way. I will walk the way, love will guide the way.
Woo! Wowee. I don't, okay, hold on. Let me get this right. There we go. Wowee, Leah, she's so good. Now that's gonna be on repeat in my brain for the next week. So good. I'll walk the way, love will find the way. So we are at the 5th week of our first month, 2022. And so the whole month's topic was, living everyday wonder. And we started out with, what is wonder? And why be curious? And then even last week when Audra talked about just questioning everything, that kind of the question leads you to the curiosity, or does the curiosity lead you to the question? I think they're intermingled. Talk to any 2-year-old. Why? Because blah, blah, blah. But why? Because every answer leads to another question. And because that's how it works. The more you find out, the more you want to know. And so here we are in this 5th week, and it's called, the topic is prove it. And of course, you can imagine some 2-year-old. I had a sassy little sister. I think I have a picture of her when she was 3, and she had her hand on her hip, and she had a lollipop in her mouth. And I swear to you, that is the poster child for prove it. So here we are. We're in this teaching called Science of Mind, or religious science. And that is what we were called officially before we changed it to Center for Spiritual Living. There's a whole reason behind that, but just go with me on this. Religious science and Centers for Spiritual Living. Imagine if we called it Centers for Spiritual Navel Gazing. No, it doesn't roll off the tongue. All right, how about this one? We practice religious ruminations. Religious ruminations. No. So first of all, Centers for Spiritual Living, because we live it, and spirit and religious science, because it's science. Now, before you kind of say, well, maybe it's pseudoscience because it couldn't be actual science, because coming up in my childhood, I remember science and religion were diametrically opposed, right? Because you had your scientists who were like, oh, there was a big bang, and like, that's how we got here. Because the scientists are all like surfer dudes in my example here. And then you have the others, the religious people, that said, well, God said it, and then it was done. And by the way, the earth is 10,000 years old. So you have these two people, these two diametrically opposing views. And what is true is that if you go back ancient wisdom, go back as far as we can go in the written word, go back to Egyptian times. And before that, if you can find things to look at, there was always a marriage between science and religion, a marriage between it, because you had to figure out, well, what's my place in this world? How did I get here? What is my place in existence? And is there some higher power? And so you had the philosophers from 500 BCE talking about there's two types of humanity, one that looks up to the God up there, and then the one that looks down to the God of nature, and they're both valid. One says, well, the divine is out there and we have to supplicate ourselves and we have to pray and beg. And you think of Zeus and the other gods, they made up a lot of stuff about explaining the movement of the planets and what the sun is made of and all that. And then you have another type of, even further back, you had the agrarian society that sort of said, wow, we are of the earth. The earth gives birth to us and to plants and to flowers. Sustenance itself must be God. And so you had these two, and it's not lost on me how those who used the downward religion where God was the earth, that was more of a matriarchal society, right? Am I right? Because the womb of the earth, the womb where we come from, mother, that was more sacred. The matriarch was the sacred. And so, yeah, I'm learning a lot of stuff in school, but what does that have to do with right now? And why is it called Prove It? So here's what I'm about to say. Ernest Holmes, who was the one who wrote the Science of Mind textbook and who is the founder of our teaching, well, he wasn't alone. And there were a bunch of people in his time that were speaking about the same discoveries. He went back and said, well, if science has ways of proving theories and hypotheses, then why don't we look at religion in the same way? And Ernest Holmes went to the Bible and said, oh my gosh, Jesus has been doing that. He was doing that 2,000 years ago. Think about it. Jesus said, the things he said have been like messed up over time, where they have him saying he's the only one that can do these miracles, but he never said that. What he did say is, I and my Father are one, and these miracles that I do, so can you. What kind of miracles, you say? What kinds of things did he do to prove it? Well, you had the walking on water, and you had the good old rising from the dead from the man that had leprosy. And there's miracles. You had the loaves and the fishes and the things that this is his proof. He didn't just say, just trust me, I got you. He also showed in his works that he had, sort of the right idea on how things work. Now, for us, it's a good 2,000 years later, and we're thinking, are there any miracles that we're doing? Is there anything that we can do to prove that these principles work? So what is the living part of Centers for Spiritual Living? And what is the science part of religious science? Well, I'm glad you asked, because a scientist has to come up with a theory based on observation and then create an experiment to prove. So I can't help it. I'm going to do. So science, right? When you think about science, you got a beaker and you got some measurements and you're going to pour stuff in stuff and things are going to boil over. I couldn't resist, had to show you that picture. But the idea of science, theories, hypotheses, proof. Repeat. Theories, hypotheses, proof. And then if you can prove it over and over again, then you write a paper or something and you put it on a public place for your peer review, and they're going to do the same thing. Your peers are going to create the same scenario and prove. So what do we do as spiritual practitioners, people who practice spiritual things? Well, first of all, what do we believe? What is it? What is our theory? And I kind of walked you through it in the meditation. What is our theory? That we are one, that there is no separation between us and the divine, and that we're all connected, and that we just look like we're separate, but we're more alike than we're unalike. And so if you want to think about this, the way that those who built the darned atom bomb came up with the old chain reaction that can happen between atoms and cause an explosion, that's one way to use energy. But with spiritual energy, you can make a theory. You could say, well, could we do something spiritually? Create a chain reaction spiritually. If we're all connected, if there's something in me that is also in you, that is also in everybody, then we're not alone. No man or woman is an island unto him or her or theirselves. So could it be provable that if I get into the presence, if I come into the room with a really happy, warm countenance, that I can change, I can affect those around me? That's a hypothesis. Let's try it. And so, of course, there are many things you can try. We've all been there before. I'm talking to you about things you've probably experienced. All of a sudden you feel a new warmth because you're talking to someone about something. That feeling where you're not alone. Even no words can be exchanged. Someone can change the energy of a room just by walking into it. We've all been there. And how about this atmosphere? Like if we're saying that there is a mental atmosphere that affects other people, then you can create experiments to prove it to be true. Spiritual reactions, it reaches out to everybody, and it sets a chain reaction. And I know you've seen it in the negative way. People who have created a mental atmosphere of despair or woe is me. I don't know what the technical term for that consciousness is, but you know it. And so when some people come in the room, you can just be like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden it's kind of heavy in here. And many of us, if you're not really tuned in, you might not notice, but those of us who are empaths, you know what I'm talking about. So if there's an energy in the universe that is locked in or imbued in every single atom so that we can create a chain reaction of energy, then it is also true that there's an energy in the universe that has created us. And when we unlock it, we can create a chain reaction. So what are the tools? I know that on my little science picture, you got beakers with colored liquids. People use those in science, don't they? They use measuring tools and baking soda and things to get a reaction. What do we use? What tools do we use in our spiritual practice? Well, we know that there are 3 things we use because you guys, if you've been with us for any length of time, you know that there's meditation, there's treatment, which is prayer, and there are affirmations. And these are the 3 things we use these are the tools of our science. And then what we teach is that we cannot give anything that we don't have. And so if I know that I want to be happy and I want to bring happiness to those around me, wouldn't it be weird if I didn't first become one with my own happiness? How can I bring happiness to people if I'm unhappy, right? So what do we use to get happy? Prayer, affirmations, and meditation. So what comes out of that? Self-confidence, I believe for me, when I sit and I'm still and I listen and I get the insight and the input that I need from the divine, I am a little more confident and I'm more likely to do the work. But I'm not going to sit and listen and then not do anything, because that's not in alignment with spiritual living. In fact, I have a short story. You guys will love this one. It's kind of cute. Levity is awesome. Here we go. One day, Johnny decided that he wanted to get healthier, so he joined the local gym. Included in the membership were 3 sessions with a personal trainer. At their first meeting, after listening to Johnny's goals, the trainer helped him create a plan and showed him some exercises to get him started. Johnny paid attention. He paid rapt attention to the trainer and what he was showing him, and he even took notes. Johnny left the gym feeling excited. He then met with the trainer again a few weeks later. The trainer gave Johnny some more exercises, suggested a couple of classes offered at the gym that he might like, and talked about a few possible nutrition changes that he might want to make. At their 3rd session, Johnny complained to his trainer that he just wasn't seeing the results that he had hoped for. Curious and wanting to get a better understanding of Johnny's situation, the trainer asks him a few questions. So, which classes have you taken? I haven't taken any, Johnny said. What dietary changes have you made? None, he replied. Of the exercises I showed you, which ones do you do most often? Wait for it. Johnny goes, wait, what? You mean I'm supposed to actually do them? He didn't believe it. He's like, what? So yeah, of course, spiritual living, right? It's not spiritual navel gazing. And if I were to sit down in my meditation or my prayer and get an understanding of what I need to do, I'm going to feel better immediately because I have a plan. And that's me. That's Johnny walking out of the gym with a plan. But then if I just go back to my normal everyday things, then that plan is not going to execute itself. So we've got to think about that. If I want to bring happiness to other people, then it would behoove me to get happy, and whatever that looks like for me. And that is the work of my inner person. My inner work is, what would make me happy? What would change my outlook so that I'm brighter and happier? It's just an example. And then as I ruminate on that and I get some insight, I move on it. And then I take some notes, and then I start to notice if I'm improving, because little by little, every little improvement leads to the next improvement, leads to the next. And that is the chain reaction toward the good. And then I may not even notice it, but I've completely changed my countenance. And other people may say, oh my gosh, have you gotten happier? And I'll be like, why, yes, I guess I did. Look at me. Because the incremental changes, so small but so powerful, that is what really causes the changes that we desire in life. It's not about a big get rich quick or get skinny tomorrow or get happy now. It's really a little more slow and more deliberate, because anything too fast will probably not stick around. We've got to slow and deliberate, because, much as we hate to admit it, we are in a time-based reality, and things don't usually happen like that and stick around. So it's just a thing, and we want to prove, always proving to ourselves the principles that we say we believe in. And we might have to prove it to other people. We might have to. When other people don't see who you really are, we don't allow that to keep us down. There's another story, and I purposely, I'm not telling too many stories about me so much, but there's another story. This one's called The Candle Boy. I think you'll enjoy this. In his mid-30s, an uneducated man, Joe, found himself slowly beginning to resent his monotonous, tedious life as a sweeper in a small, lonely church on the countryside. You got the picture? Fed up with his boring life, he plucked up his courage and confronted the father of the church. Joe says, I do not like being the sweeper anymore, Father. I envy the candle boys. Their job is much more exciting than mine. Can you please make me a candle boy? Father says, Joe, my son, I have tried to tell you this many, many times, but I will say it again. Candle boys have to greet people, and they do so by conversing with them. My son, you are not educated, and I'm afraid that I cannot let you greet our visitors using broken English. It is not your fault, son, but I cannot make you a candle boy. Joe says, I want to leave then. I do not want to live here and work as a sweeper anymore. And the father says, son, you are living in God's house. You get 2 meals a day. What more do you want? I almost hear, you should be grateful, right? Don't leave, son. You will regret it. Well, Joe was stubborn and intent on proving he could succeed on his own and find the happiness and satisfaction that he wanted. After many failed attempts, though, at trying to make him stay, Father finally let him go. It took Joe less than a few minutes to pack up all his possessions and leave. He walked for hours and hours, and he kept telling himself how happy he was to leave his church that was in the middle of nowhere. And he's walking and he's walking. Hours later, he was thirsty, but there was nothing around him. Not one shop was around him. And it suddenly occurred to him, I should perhaps open a small stall, one that sells water, because hundreds of visitors come all the way to visit the church. I am sure they too, like me, get thirsty on their way. Soon after, he opened a small stable by the riverside, small stall. Hundreds of visitors stopped by, and during their journey to the faraway countryside over and over through the next few months, many people stopped by. Joe also started selling juices and other such drinks. He got luckier day by day. As the years passed, he saw his life turn around. He did well enough to not only own a small cafe that served snacks and drinks, he also opened many cafes. He decided to open a bank account. The bank manager asked him to fill out some forms as per standard procedure, but embarrassed, Joe hesitantly asked the manager to fill the forms out for him because he couldn't really read and he couldn't really understand the language. The surprise manager said, "Sir, it is amazing how you've done so well for yourself, even without properly knowing the language. Just imagine where you would be today if you had been educated." And Joe answered, "Yeah, I would have been the candle boy in the church." Dude. So I love that story because of so many layers where people might say to you, well, why are you trying to be better than you are? You're fine. It's fine. You don't need to really reach for better. You're doing fine. But if inside our souls, we know that we could be better, we could do better, and if someone seems to be standing in our way, God has another way. Now notice, Joe didn't wait for God to come and give him the FedEx that says, hey, lucky you, you get to open a stall by the river. He had to just trust that his convictions were enough, that they were from a divine urge, and that is all you need. And so he stepped out there with nothing and allowed his intuition, his inspiration to just sort of give him his next steps. And the universe rewards so generously, doesn't it? When we do what we're supposed to do, when we do what we know that we should be doing, regardless of whatever other people think, the universe rewards us generously. So that's really all I have to say about that. I hope that something in there has resonated with you, that you too can prove the principles to yourself and to those that are watching. You're not doing it for them, but by your actions, others will be attracted to what it is, what's new about you. They'll be inspired to do more for themselves because we truly are connected. There is no other way. So if there are any requests for prayer, let me know as we simply go within. Just Going into that space of divine oneness, that knowing that we are connected, infinitely connected to the divine. Right here and right now, every atom and organ of our being is imbued with the beauty of the divine, the love, the peace, the wholeness of God. And that we couldn't be separate from this truth, even if we tried. So we lean into it and we know that we are blessed. Everywhere we are, wherever we go, there is God. And if we listen, we are given exact instructions and exact inspirations and the divine urge within us. We allow it. We allow it. We give it voice and we follow it because we become more and more of who we really are. And then we bless others on our path. I'm speaking my word now, knowing that anyone who is feeling anything in misalignment or in unalignment with these divine truths, that they right now are feeling the divine urge, getting a knowledge of what is theirs to do to begin to heal. Whether that be sitting in meditation or doing prayer treatments or just a simple affirmation, living this teaching every day, not just on Sundays. Showing up as the life of God, as a blessing to all of those around them. This is ours to do. It's so exciting. I just speak my word that each and every one of us are healed and uplifted and unfolding in their highest and best. And so, in gratitude for just the privilege of being able to know these truths for our community and beyond, I rest knowing that all the words I've spoken have already begun to take form in our lives. So I release it. I released my word into the law, knowing that the law only says yes. I let it go and let it be. And so it is. Ashe. Let's hear from Leah.
Good morning.
Actually, it's from another singer.
What do I choose to give oxygen to today? What wolves will I feed and which will I keep at bay? When the world overwhelms me, in the quiet of my heart I say, what do I choose to give oxygen to today? What do I choose to give oxygen to today? What wolves will I feed and which will I keep at bay? When the world overwhelms me, in the quiet of my heart I say, what do I choose to give oxygen to today? What do I choose to give oxygen to today? What wolves will I feed and which will I keep at bay? When the world overwhelms me, in the quiet of my heart I say, what do I choose to give oxygen to today? When the world overwhelms me, in the quiet of my heart I say, what do I choose to give oxygen to today?
There we go. I was trying to unmute. Oh my goodness gracious. Woo, that was so wonderful. All right, folks, now it's time that we prove the law of circulation. It's time to bless our donations that are shared with us today at CSL Leesburg. We believe in the law of circulation and we prove it. We know that as we give, we shall receive. Your donations to our center go to our home office as well as organizations that support our vision of helping to create a world that works for everyone because we are one. And this is how we prove it. So take a look at your screen. There's so many ways to give. It's easy to find a way that works for you. And as always, you're welcome to go to our CSL website and just click the donate button. Now, join me as we bless our gifts. You can take whatever you're giving physically if it's available, or just place it over your heart and imagine that it's right there. Here we go. The presence of spirit within me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. Therefore, I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. Those words, sometimes there's a piece of it that just jumps out, and sometimes it's the whole thing. All right, guys, it's time for announcements. Let's see what we have. As always, on Tuesday evenings, you're welcome to join Charlene and friends as they explore their dreams. There's so many things that come to us in our dreams, and sometimes we need the friendship. We need others to come with us and just hear what our dreams were and help us interpret our dreams. And then on Wednesday evenings at 7 o'clock, I've said it before and I'll say it again, and we proved it on Wednesday. We get together, we share whatever messages we received and have taken into our daily practice from our service on Sunday, and we explore it just a little bit deeper. And why do we call it diving deeper? Because at the end of service today, you're going to be encouraged to share your pearls. What really resonated with you? What were the gems from today's service or from the music that you think are truly, truly gems, are valuable? So on Wednesday nights, we dive a little deeper for our pearls, and we just share what is really resonating with us from today's service. What are we holding on to? Join us if you can Wednesday evenings. We always walk away in amazement saying, wow, I got deeper insight. I got new resources to explore. There's always new discoveries, just as if you were diving in the ocean for treasure. I want to remind our Leadership Council and just telling everyone who's joining us that your Leadership Council will be meeting for our annual retreat moments after we end our service today. And this is when we do a little exploration and look at where we've been and where we hope to go in the coming year. All right, folks, all too soon it comes around. It's time to say goodbye, but let's do our closing affirmation. Once again, take your hands and put them over your heart. Just love yourself up a little bit and say, I am love.
I am love.
You know, I love to hear you. Now look at someone near you or something near you. It could be a dear pet. It could be just the screen, and just point at that person or that animal and say, you are love.
You
are
love.
You are love. Now put your hands up in the air for our love sprinkles as we say, it's all love.
All love.
All right, if you can, please stay for some pearls. We'll talk about what we got out of today's service. I took a whole bunch of notes, and if you can't stay, then we just wish you a blessed day. And remember, you are loved and you don't have to prove it. That's the truth. All right, we'll see you next week, or